right.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau delays the arrival of all 25,000 Syrian refugees into Canada until the new year. Brussels reopens public spaces after 4 days of a citywide security lockdown. Hundreds of protesters block Chicago streets after video of a white police officer shooting a black teenager is released. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Nick Bear, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. Justin Trudeau is in London today for his first time as Prime Minister. It's his first stop on a week-long international trip. This was Trudeau's first time at Buckingham Palace since visiting as a young child when his father was PM. He joked that the Queen was much taller the last time he saw her. He's now meeting with British PM David Cameron. He heads to Malta on Friday to meet with Commonwealth leaders, then on to the Paris Climate Summit next week. After his audience with the Queen, Trudeau spoke to media and addressed the security of Canada's refugee plan.
One of the things that changed with Paris was the perception that Canadians had. We realized that the most important thing is to be able to reassure Canadians that absolutely everything is being done to keep Canadians safe.
Change the sign.
Comments come after the government delayed its plan to bring 25,000 refugees to Canada by year's end. Yesterday, the Committee on Refugees announced that 10,000 migrants are expected to arrive by the end of December, while the remaining 15,000 are expected by the end of February. Afterwards, Trudeau sat down with the CBC to explain that the delay was to make sure the resettlement was done right.
Aren't just welcomed when they get here, but are...
Here at Humber, students say they've got some concerns about how Canada will be able to deal with the influx of refugees. Our reporter, Evan Pressman, has the story.
The events over the last few weeks have given many Canadians a newfound opinion on the Syrian refugee crisis. Students here at Humber College told us what they thought.
With what just happened in Paris, I'm sure that, obviously it's a bit of an eye-opener.
The real question is, are they conducting a thorough investigation with each person that's coming in by December? How long has this process been going on? Do we know all the information we need to know?
Canada it's not like a Europe where our borders are close to each other. We got a lot of ocean in between. I do feel like this process is kind of going by fast, and I'm more concerned about having the appropriate resources for these refugees when they come by.
To really get any funding for this kind of situation would definitely help.
I feel like they need kind of a bridge for the cultures, because obviously you're coming to a whole different country with a whole different language and a whole different way of doing things. So there's that issue where there'll be a lot of maybe mental instability because they're also coming from war-torn areas.
Knowing that they're going to bring 15,000 people in 2 months is kind of just we have to make sure that us as Canadians are doing our part to make sure that everyone coming in is here for the right reasons.
Maybe 25,000 is a good start, and then see how that goes, and then if it works out, then maybe bring in some more.
Maybe the shortened screening process time, that could be a threat.
Just making sure that everyone coming to Canada is here for the right reasons and not skipping any part of the process because they're trying to get in people quicker.
If we can do something, we should do it, right?
The Liberals say that their first priority is bringing in the most vulnerable. This includes women, children, and families. Trudeau says that he knows the process is accelerated, but his government is focused on doing the screening properly. Evan Pressman, Humber News.
Overseas, Brussels is trying to get back to normal today. Schools, transit, and public spaces are reopening after being on the highest level of security alert, but it's not business as usual. Heightened police forces and soldiers are patrolling subways and schools. Only a limited number of metro stations have reopened, and Belgium has extended its maximum security alert until next Monday. France will also be increasing security dramatically for the upcoming UN climate conference on Sunday. An extra 8,000 policemen will be deployed for border checks, and another 2,000 troops will be on guard. International heads of state, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Obama, will be taking part. Parisians have been warned not to drive during the conference, and demonstrations have also been cancelled. Not all jokes are funny. The controversial French comedian Dieudonné has been arrested for racist and anti-Semitic comments during a show in Belgium. Dieudonné has been sentenced to 2 months in jail for inciting hatred and Holocaust denial. The show in question took place in 2012 in front of more than 1,000 people. The anti-Zionist comic has been repeatedly fined for hate speech in France. Dieudonné popularized a hand gesture known as the quenelle that critics liken to an inverted Nazi salute. Russians are calling for retaliation against Turkey today for the downing of one of their jets. The Turkish embassy in Moscow was pelted with eggs and tomatoes. Crowds of protesters gathered and Russian police had to intervene. A Russian jet was downed by Turkish forces yesterday for violating Turkish airspace and ignoring warnings. Russian officials say they have no intention to go to war with Turkey, but they have severed ties with the country. Tunisia has declared a state of emergency after an attack on the Presidential Guard killed 12 people. The government is describing it as a terrorist attack. A suicide bomber detonated an explosive on a bus carrying presidential security guards. The Tunisian president declared the state of emergency and imposed a curfew on the region. It's the third terrorist attack in Tunisia this year. In March, 22 tourists were killed at the Bardo Museum. To Chicago now, where the mayor is asking for calm after protests erupted in the city last night. A warning to our viewers, some of these images may be graphic. Demonstrators marched in several areas of the city after a dashcam video was released of a police shooting from 2014. An officer is shown shooting 17-year-old Laquan McDonald 16 times. He has been charged with first-degree murder. Here at home, James Forcillo takes a stand today in court. Today is the first day of defense for Forcillo after the Crown wrapped up its case on Monday. Forcillo pleaded not guilty to the second charge of second-degree murder and attempted murder in the July 2013 streetcar shooting of Sami Yatin. Defense lawyer Peter Brody says it will take about 3 weeks to present the evidence. Maple Leaf Foods will be cutting more than 400 salaried jobs over the next couple of months. The Ontario food giant currently employs around 12,000 workers and will remove almost 3% of its payroll. Most cuts are expected to happen before the new year. In international news, there's more unrest in Haiti as the government confirms results from last month's election. Street fires broke out in Port-au-Prince Tuesday night, with reports of a police officer being shot and killed during the protest. Daily protests in the capital have become routine after political parties in the country suggest that President Martelly tainted October's vote. Citizens go to the polls again next month for a runoff vote against the two remaining candidates. Pope Francis has arrived in Kenya on his first visit to Africa. The Pope was greeted by an enthusiastic crowd as he landed in Nairobi. During his visit, Pope Francis will try to mend the growing division between Catholics and Muslims in Africa. He'll also be visiting Uganda and the Central African Republic during his stay. A bushfire in Malala, Australia is burning out of control. Water bombers have been dropping water over the flames that cover an area of about 3,000 hectares. According to Australian media, a firefighter has been injured and property has been damaged. Authorities are warning residents to take shelter indoors and not to leave the grassland area until the flames are under control. A different kind of natural disaster is devastating Saudi Arabia. Heavy rains flooded streets across Riyadh, forcing Saudi authorities to close major roads. In a suburb to the west of Saudi capital, an underpass became completely waterlogged, submerging several cars. The Ministry of Education says schools are closed for the third day in a row. At least 2 people died in flash floods after heavy rainfall. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Charlotte Morit-Jacobs will have your 3-day forecast.
So hello from the other side. The weather is beautiful with sunshine. It is currently 8 degrees. I'll have your full 3-day forecast after the break.
In the world of music, Adele's latest album, 25, is setting fire to rain. It's been 4 days since the release of Adele's album, and it's broken the record for most album sales ever in a week. It's already sold more than 2.4 million copies, saying bye 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 to NSYNC's No Strings Attached record. The single Hello sits in the #1 spot on the Billboard 100 for the 4th week. But she's not the only one rolling in the deep, as Justin Bieber currently has 3 singles in the top 5. I'm sure he's not sorry about that. Before the break, we leave you with this. Winter may be around the corner, but this video will make you want to bundle up. One of the coldest races in the world happened in Antarctica over the weekend. Runners participated in this icy marathon with temperatures dropping to -20 degrees. They covered up from head to toe wearing long johns parkas, goggles, and more. The marathon was 2 laps around the Union Glacier Exploration Camp. Brr, that's a cold one.